Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to a special edition of Defense and Diplomacy. I'm your host Sultan M. Hali. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. He carved a place for himself in a pantheon of world leaders from the third world who were in the 20th century struggling to overthrow colonialism and imperialism. He had the honor to rub shoulders with some of these famous names like Mao Zedong, like Zhou Enlai, like Gamal Abdel Nasser, like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and Salvador Allende. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto left a famous legacy, some of which makes us proud, but one of the important contributions he made was laying the foundations of Pakistan's nuclear program. So to remember Zulfikar Ali Bhutto on his death anniversary, we are honored to have in our studio today two very prominent panelists. We have with us a famous bureaucrat, former Federal Secretary, Mr. Tariq Mustafa, who was associated with the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, as well as SUPACO and with the Defense Production Division. Welcome, sir. We have with us Ambassador Tariq Usman Haider, who has looked after the nuclear security of Pakistan and has also been talking about Pakistan's nuclear safety and security, but currently he is at the faculty of the National Defense University. Welcome, sir. Sir, we find, or rather, let me describe a scenario for you. 20th January 1972, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto took over as the president only a month earlier. The venue is Multan, and he has called an array of nuclear scientists and engineers. Nobody knows what he's going to talk about. But once in the room, he says, "Gentlemen, we want the bomb. Can you give me the bomb? And how long will you take?" There was pin drop silence. The atmosphere was tense and electric. And then one of the scientists piped up and said, "Yes, we can do it in 5 years." And Bhutto raised his finger, 3 fingers, and said, "3. I give you 3 years to make that bomb." Can you shed some light on that?
Well, it so happens I was not present in that meeting because I happened to be abroad then on a working visit. And perhaps one may even say that what Mr. Bhutto spoke about, the visit was related to that. We were already at it, you see. But it is very clear that Mr. Bhutto, through that meeting, laid a goal, set a target, and got the work going in real earnest, you see. But that was not the time that he thought of it in the 70s. I think he thought of these matters much earlier, in the 60s.
In fact, a book which he wrote, sir, in 1967, but its print came out in 1969, The Myth of Independence. He talks very clearly that India is likely to become a nuclear power and it will give it a tremendous advantage, and Pakistan has to have its own program.
Very, very right. Mr. Bhutto, whatever you may say, was a visionary. And one of his visions was this, that any self-respecting nation has to have access to nuclear technology, whether for peaceful or for deterrence purposes. He was also aware, as you say, that the neighboring country, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Nehru, had also been equally clear on this. It was clear in his mind, and he had given these directions also. The Nehru Baba friendship is well known. It was more than just friends, they shared this vision of the importance and significance of nuclear technology, again for both purposes. So, Mr. Bhutto was clearly conscious of this, and as the young and dynamic minister in President Ayub's cabinet, he always sort of lent support to nuclear energy. I remember in the 60s, the chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission was Dr. Ishrat Usmani, IU Usmani. And Professor Abdul Salam was the chief scientific advisor to the president. And often these two, Usmani and Salam, are known as Usmani Salam Baradaran, because they were the responsible really for giving shape and strength to Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission. Both of these always could count on the support of Mr. Bhutto. He had made it clear to them that, my doors are open. Although he had no direct responsibility, he was not concerned with nuclear and atomic energy commission matters, but they could count on his support.
But as Minister for Natural Resources, he lent a lot of support to Atomic Energy Commission, and also I believe Ambassador Tariq Osman Haider, in 1962 when he became the foreign minister, that was the time India managed to convince Canada to provide them with a nuclear reactor. And
Canada-India reactor.
Exactly.
CIR. Yeah.
CIR.
Yes.
Yeah.
62 years.
Mr. Bhutto used his charm and his guile and managed to get Canada to sign up one for Pakistan too, something which he inaugurated as president late in 1972.
Yeah, well, there are two different tracks. One is the nuclear weapons path. India got the Cyrus reactor in the 50s, 58, which was unsafeguarded. Later on, they started getting from Canada RAP 1, RAP 2, which were the safeguarded reactors for energy. So Mr. Bhutto helped the negotiation with Canada and to get the resources for Kanup. So it started construction, I think, in 67, and he inaugurated it in August 72. So I think he, with the lack of resources, etc., he was quite pivotal in getting that, because you need both nuclear power for energy security, and of course you also need it for deterrence.
But let it be clear, I don't think the Canadians gave India this natural uranium based reactor, the Cyrus or the Canada-India reactor it's known as. Pakistan never had that offer. That was on the cards, under discussion, etc., etc., but it never materialized. The first reactor that Pakistan managed to get was the AMF Atomics from USA, and enriched uranium. It's a research reactor. While the CIR was not only research, but I think India sort of planned it that way. It had the capability to make plutonium.
But we see that in 1974, when India makes its first nuclear test, codenamed Smiling Buddha, it did not come as a surprise, because in 1969, as I mentioned that in the Myth of Independence, Mr. Bhutto had written, and I quote really because this shows his vision, as you mentioned, and his prescience. He stated, "All wars of our age have become total wars. It would be dangerous to plan for less, and our plans should therefore include the nuclear option." Therefore, in 1974, after the Indian explosion, comes his very famous saying that we will be ready to eat grass if we have to, but we will get our own bomb. Your thoughts on the subject, sir?
I think it was fairly well known, in our circles at least, that India was working towards it way before 74, well into the 60s. It was very clear. Things don't remain secret, it's known. We meet people and so on and so forth. So Pakistani intelligence as well as people in those quarters knew and had a good idea of the progress on the Indian side. So it came as no surprise. In fact, you will remember after the 71 debacle, East Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India, made an announcement few months thereafter. I don't exactly remember the time, when she said that soon you will be getting another very good news. But that news never came. People forgot about it. One view is that that was to be their first nuclear explosion, which did not materialize, and it slipped into 74. But be that as it may, Mr. Bhutto's commitment, as I said, from the early 60s, is brought out by one instance I remember. When PINSTEC was to be inaugurated, Dr. Usmani, the chairman, put up a proposal that the President of Pakistan may be requested to inaugurate PINSTEC. And Mr. Bhutto heard of it. He called up Usmani and he said, Usmani, what are you up to? And Dr. Usmani said, sir, I am proposing this, that will be a good gesture. But Bhutto Sahab said that, oh no, you don't. That is one thing that I want to inaugurate. I want my name on that.
He wanted to leave his mark, his legacy.
Yeah. So it was very clear. And it wasn't just a commitment, he actually lent support whenever or wherever it was called for.
Right. So, Ambassador Tariq Usman Haider, we were talking about the Operation Smiling Buddha. Do you think India's nuclear test urged him or lent him the urgency to expedite our process?
I think, as Tariq Mustafa Sahab said, this was his vision from the beginning, and I think everybody in Pakistan knew the Indians would do it. It was a question of timing. But of course, it no doubt accelerated the urgency of the task. And he had been preparing for this for some time, because on the one hand, in '72 at that Multan meeting, he installed Munir Ahmad Khan
As the chairman.
As the chairman. And it is said that in '65 he had introduced Munir Ahmad Khan when he was in the IEA to Mr. Ayub Khan to persuade him that we should follow the nuclear route which India was doing. But Ayub Khan was not so convinced.
This was at Vienna.